Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me and you can see my screen, my presentation. My name is Terry Ogg. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to attend today and for the contributions so far, which have been extremely interesting. I'm going to talk for 10 minutes on trauma-informed interviewing and crew well-being in marine casualties. And this is what I'm going to talk about. The challenge. What is it about marine casualty investigations now, which is unhelpful or even defective? And what is the change that we should be thinking about in bringing about improvements to the process? Then I want to talk about TIMS, which stands for Trauma-Informed Interviewing in a Marine Setting, which is the model that we have adopted as a means of bringing about change. And finally, I just wanted to say a few words about crew wellbeing continuum, which is the kind of overall package within which the TIMS service sits. So the challenge is, as we've heard today, there are many sources and causal factors that produce day-to-day stresses and potentially traumatized experiences. So compared to the acute or peak stress that can accompany marine incidents and casualties, I think we can think of these as a kind of baseline. And when you get a marine casualty occurring, further layers of stress can build up on top of that baseline. There's the anxiety that is that can accompany people who are have these persistent stresses, the fear experienced as a result of the incident itself. And irrespective of the nature of the seriousness of the incident, there can be a huge amounts of stress involved in responding to the incident and dealing with the aftermath. People often forget that seafarers involved in casualties can be both the victim or target of the incident, as well as the first responder. And then there's the area of what I call the uncharted waters, the uncertainty for individuals. Will I be detained ashore? Will I lose my job, my license? What's going to happen? What did happen? What will my colleagues and family think? And it was very interesting listening to Captain Sim and Captain Tyset earlier, where they touched upon an area that we don't talk about much, which is the burden of responsibility. Imagine the burden that's felt by a master, a chief engineer, a barge master, a dive supervisor, when there's lives are lost or irrevocably damaged or property is destroyed. And yet they're usually expected to carry on as normal. So you've got these layering of stresses that can accumulate on top of an already kind of background level of stresses. So we need a change. I don't think it's good enough to say that we always treat interviewees with empathy and care, that we try to establish rapport. There is a need to deal systematically with the related issues of causing unnecessary harm to interviewees in investigative interviews and not obtaining the best possible information and evidence. Now, I've wrestled with this problem over a number of years, and being in situations, not knowing what to do when someone is distressed and needs help, not having the tools to help them and to help them help me obtain the information that I want, when to stop an interview, when to encourage people to continue. So it wasn't until I met Dr. Glyn Williams And she introduced me to the concept of trauma-informed interviewing, that I had my kind of light bulb moment. So I think what we need to consider is the role of these marine casualty investigations and the investigators. I mean, if you look at this, just look at the different types and number of interested parties that can become involved in a casualty situation. I tend to be involved in the third group, commercial liability, although sometimes I might be involved in safety case investigations on behalf of owners and managers. But they are all after information and evidence. They want to attend as soon as possible. They're anxious to secure information. Just to distinguish between information and evidence. Information is the ship sank in such and such coordinates. Evidence is a decklog entry that says the ship sank in those particular coordinates. So whilst they generally appreciate that information has a limited shelf life, on the other hand, witness evidence rather, is fragile and easily contaminated. So everybody wants to get in quickly. And of course, this means that witnesses are interviewed at a time and a place not of their choosing, when they may still be trying to process their experiences, to make sense of what it is they've experienced, and while they are traumatized and still highly stressed. Uncertainties regarding the interview process and its outcome can add again to the layering of stresses on individuals. And the way that conventional investigative interviews are carried out can result in further traumatizing an already traumatized interviewee. And just as importantly, an individual's cognitive ability, including their ability to recollect information, is impaired when they are in a highly stressed state. And this will have a direct impact on the quantity and quality of the information and evidence that's obtained during the interview. So on top of that, an interviewee's inability to answer questions, to focus, to maintain a train of thought and so on, can be misinterpreted by investigators and lead to mistrust starting to develop. So the whole process goes into a kind of death spiral for both the interviewee and the interviewer. So what it was that Dr. Glyn Williams introduced me to was in trauma-informed practice, which is using what we know about human responses to stress to inform the practice and process of marine investigative interviews. Now, when we started the project back in January 2020, the two things that concerned me were achieving the best possible evidence. That's the most complete, accurate, and reliable evidence possible. At the same time, I wanted to make sure that we were protecting the well-being of the seafarer during that process. But it became apparent at a very early stage in the project, at least became apparent to me, I'm sure it was apparent already to Rachel, that you can't simply almost literally say to witnesses, thanks for the memories, I'm off, goodbye, you're on your own. There's an obligation. It's not ethical to simply leave people who have done their best to help you while they're in potentially very stressed states, to give you the best that they can, to then leave them to their own devices. that's wrong. And so the connection that you can make within the interview process is a pathway to being able to offer support. And something that I hadn't realized is that, and this is the result of seeing it in practice, that simply being in a position to offer support is a form of support. That may seem obvious to most of you, but it certainly wasn't to me at the time. Seafarers will positively respond to offers of support, even though they may not wish to take them up directly. So that was built in, that was baked into our model from the beginning. What we produced is a new interview model, which we call trauma-informed interviewing in a marine setting. And that sits within what we call a crew care continuum. And just to show you where that sits, you'll see the three elements that we refer to as the crew wellbeing continuum: prepare, respond, and recover. And this echoes the information that Capt passed on in a very interesting presentation on business continuity. 3 of the 4 elements there. And you can see that the trauma-informed interviewing model sits within, it's essentially around that respond area in the post-casualty time frame. So what is TIMS? What are the main features? Well, we have a tight integration between the investigator interviewer and the clinical psychologist. We've built the model together, and neither element is dominant. It's a case of ensuring that there is a balance between the needs of the interviewer and the needs of the interviewee. We have developed a detailed trauma-informed interview model, which in skeleton form runs to over 30 pages. And it's enveloped within what we call the crew wellbeing continuum, which I'll touch upon a bit later. So they're the essential elements, but I think just as important is a change of mindset of wanting to do the right thing. If you are an insurer or a ship owner who still wants to pack the room with lawyers, with surveyors, with subject matter experts, instead of allowing a simple one-to-one interview, then you haven't actually grasped the process. And so we encourage trust in our processes, and that includes the principals, the insurers, and the legal advisors and the service providers who have done their thing in a traditional way for many years. We think it's important that we have a very strong GDPR policy for the benefit of interviewees. We are compliant with the English court's practice direction on witness statements, which is, for us, is unhelpful in some ways when we're trying to make a connection with interviewees, having to explain those processes. But we still have to be compliant. We're also compliant with the recommendations of the International Chamber of Shipping's Commission on Fact Witness Memory, which incorporates a very interesting report from psychologists on the dangers of witness contamination, witness memory contamination, and the effects of leading questions on how witnesses respond. However, you'll search in vain for anywhere, either in the report itself or in the the psychological report for stress or trauma. They're simply not mentioned. And very briefly, the crew wellbeing continuum. Again, you'll see it's something that Capt referred to in her presentation. Tim's fits in generally around the respond and into the beginnings of the recover stage. And there's benefits. The benefits I was interested in are the first two: complete, accurate and reliable information, and actively supporting crew wellbeing post-incident. But there are obvious other benefits that people can see there, which if we were to try to sum up what it is we try to do, that's not our slogan, but it could be supported people, better evidence. And from a survey of one, somebody in a P&I club said, why are you even on our team if you're not on for this? To me and to Rachel, the benefits are self-evident. And so it was pleasing for somebody to be on the same lines as us. And there's the contact details if you would like to get in touch. And that's it. Thank you very much.